All right. Hey, how's it going? I'm Aqua, or Aquarius of Fallen Snow, if you don't know me. Welcome to an episode of the Shootin Gallery podcast. Welcome back if you've been here before. Uh, I'll start it off with some housekeeping. Apologies for the camera quality. I tried to tweak it. You can see it's too bright. Like, I don't know. There's no highlight setting. It's just like brightness and the gamma, so I can make everything super dark, but I can't change the highlights, and I don't want to completely block out my windows and use artificial light. So unfortunately, you're gonna have to deal with me looking like Casper, but you can see if I'm up close, you can see it looks a lot better, but it's just because of how far I am from the camera, and then all the light flooding my pale face. But I don't know. I felt like rambling, so I thought, what better place to do it than on my podcast? And I'll record another solo episode, right? So, in this episode, I don't know. The first thing I want to talk about is I had this thought just now, um, like while I was doing dishes, and I was thinking about how, like, damn, kind of music is kind of the gateway to spirituality in a sense because I don't know. It almost teaches people like what they like, what they don't like, in a sense, maybe what is right and wrong. Because if you listen to gangster rap or like modern rap and hip hop, you can find a lot of stuff that really isn't. It's pretty deplorable. And like, I understand the argument of people trying to make money from their craft to make it out of whatever situation they're in, but you would think that they would want to rap about that progress or that progression rather than continuing the violence that they're trying to escape from, right? But I don't know. It's a small group of people and it's a small percentage of music, but I don't know. I feel like it teaches people about rhythm, timing, and like really like the harmonies and vibrations of the universe, of people's voices. Like as I'm recording this, I can see my mic bar moving and I'm making noise. And even I think Ben talked about like speaking and the vibrations of the voice in his podcast. So definitely check out Ebb and Flow, or the Ebb and Flow podcast, I should say. His channel is at Ebb and Flow underscore. I think that'll pull it up specifically. Um, but yeah, my buddy Ben, he's he makes a lot of great content. Sorry, I'm mixing up my words, jumbling what I want to say, but he makes a ton of great content. Definitely check him out. I had him on my podcast and I was on an episode of his podcast. Unfortunately, the episode on my channel got taken down, so I have to do some editing and I'm going to re-upload it for you guys. Hopefully, by the time this episode goes live, it'll already have been done. So, you can go check that out, and I'll link the podcast episode I did with Ben in the description. If I forget, drop a comment and say, hey, where's the link to that podcast? And I'll update it. Nobody's perfect, and these get uploaded sometimes later after I record them, so sometimes the scheduling can be a little weird, and I'm always working on something new. There's always something going on, right? But yeah, going back to music, thinking about like beats and how tribes, used to have bongos or used to like dance or chant around fires or wherever it was. And in some senses, it was spiritual. You can make the debate whether all of those dances or rituals, whatever you want to call them, were spiritual, or if some of them were just for fun, for celebration, entertainment, whatever it was. But, you know, in a world, like if you think about natives before colonization and all that, in a world without like TV, blue light entertainment, what would the entertainment have looked like? What would the community have looked like, and how people came together to interact with each other? But then you think about it in a more like universal sense. What is sound? What is music? It's vibrations, which everything is. A light's vibration, sound is vibration. Like physical matter has a frequency that it vibrates at. That's why you can see videos of people like with crazy subs in their cars when they're playing something that's super bass boosted. You can see the windows and the metal wave if it's at the right frequency because it has a resonance. So theoretically, you could like, I wonder if you could turn a solid object into a liquid state using vibration, but then when you cease the vibration or the sound, if it would return to its solid state. And what if that's how we see all these crazy monolithic architectural sites being built because they're able to manipulate the consistency of otherwise solid matter, which we don't use today. And I'm sure some people would say, "Oh, it's impossible. That's not possible." But Tesla said, what's it? If your education limits your imagination, then it's indoctrination. And that is such an amazing quote because it's absolutely factual, right? Like, I don't know. It's crazy to think about. I don't know. That just gave me kind of like goosebumps, shivers down my spine because it's like, yeah, all the shit we learn, it really is just indoctrination or propaganda programming. Like, tell a vision, tell lie vision. Like, that's what TV is. That's what all this social media entertainment is. It's bread and circus to distract you from the shit that's really important in life, which is like unity, love, being connected with people instead of this like what we have going on in society is so bullshit, man. And it sucks that this is the point that we've gotten to with capitalism, colonization, whatever you want to put the blame on. Like, at the end of the day, it is people perpetuating the system, right? The people have to want change for there to be change, or for change to happen. You have to be the change you want to see in the world. Like, lead by example, not by, what's it? Lead by example, not by. Honestly, I don't know what the inverse of leading by example would be. It's like it's the saying do as I say. No, it would be the opposite, sorry, of the saying do as I say, not as I do. Right? Because in an ideal world, if someone is leading by example, it would be do as I do, not as I say, because then, you know, I don't know. I guess that saying is kind of factual. Do as I say, not as I do, because people do make mistakes, but at least they can tell you the mistakes they made. So, do do what I didn't do or don't make the same mistakes that I did, right? And learn from each other. And I think it takes a whole different context when you think of it that way instead of like yeah, I guess maybe I hadn't broken it down before. Because, you have people in power, people in positions of government, whatever, that want to tell you how to live or what's right or what's wrong, and it's us against them, and we have to fight these wars over bullshit. And it's like, really? Really, we're gonna listen to that? Do as they say? Nah, man. That's that's where I draw the line. So I think in the sense of like parents, friends, family, whatever it is, like definitely learn from everybody's mistakes, right? Like not just your own, not just one person in particular because you look up to them. You shouldn't idolize anybody or anything, and just learn from everybody's example. And like, why can't we build a society based off the best parts of all the societies that came before us, not just, oh, well, they were before us and they didn't work, so now we have to build a new one or whatever and make it last. It's like maybe civilization and society isn't meant to last because humans are more animalistic than we like to think or perceive, and we're not meant to be living in boxes, trapped so close to people, not getting outside as much, eating fake food, breathing fucking polluted air, drinking polluted water. Like, yeah, you can say it's filtered, but what's it? Can't they don't filter the estrogen out, or I'm pretty sure, not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure they can't filter the estrogen out of the water from birth control. And that's why Alex Jones was saying, oh, they're turning the frogs gay because there's literally too much estrogen in the water that it's fucking up the chemical, like the chemistry of the animals. So, in a sense, maybe is that not messing with our hormones and our chemicals, right? Like, I don't think a Brita filter filters it out if their UV and high tech filters can't filter it out of like our sewage water. You know what I mean? Like, because that's where it would be coming from, right? It's all the people excreting these hormones and these chemicals out of their body right into the water. And then how much filtering does it really do? You know what I mean? It's kind of sucks to think about, but if we were more attuned to the world, if we were living a more naturalistic lifestyle where we didn't have major companies hoarding the water supplies and then choosing what they do with it or what we drink, like, I don't know. Because you got to think about companies like Monsanto that are spraying all their pesticides and pollutants and chemicals over the crops and the food. Not only are we eating it with the food, but then the runoff, anytime it rains, a bunch of that's going to run off the plants into the soil, into the water, and then just recycle. And then because of atmosphere and all that shit, it's going to evaporate, go up, condense, come down. So I don't know, man. You really can't get away from it at that point. You got to really look for like that pure spring water coming right up out the earth because there is water underground. There are underground rivers. That's why you get shit like sinkholes because the water or like there's corrosion underneath and it collapses, right? And that could be from other stuff, not just water, right? But it's interesting to think about. It's definitely something to think about. And how do wells work if there's no water underground, right? Because you get to a certain point where now obviously I don't think you just get to a certain level in the Earth's crust and there just is water in the ground. I think you have to find it, but then that's how dowsing. That's why they have dowsers, and it works. You take two copper wires, or maybe they're different kinds of wires, different materials, but you have them at a 90-degree angle. You have two, one in each hand. And as you're walking around, they're going to lead you to a point where they eventually cross, and X marks the spot, right? Because they're crossing. And that's where you dig, and you're probably going to find water, man. But it's crazy, like, people really don't be thinking about this shit. Like, I don't know. And even people who say they're like, they think about science, they think about philosophy, they think about all this stuff. It's like, yeah, but then implement it in your life and realize, and then you realize how much of life is bullshit. How much of life, like, how much of this shit are they just lying to us about? And of course, history is written by the victors, and who just so happens to be the good guys winning all the time, winning every battle? Is that not like North America's fucking uh, mode de vie? Mode de vie? Like their way of life? Like, oh, we're right. We have to fight these guys because they're wrong or they're a threat to our democracy or their land or whatever it is. Like, Russia wants to steal Ukraine's land. Is that what it is? Or is it some other shit? Is it minerals in the ground? Is it the fertile soil that can grow crops that they don't want their opposition to have? Like, there could be infinite variables, but it always comes down to money, land, religion sometimes. But at the end of the day, I don't even think that's part of it anymore because truly religious people, I don't think they would go to war. Like, that's obviously a stretch, right? Obviously, there have been the holy wars in history or whatever the fuck, the crusades. But at that point, it's like, are those people truly religious in the sense of like unity, coming together and grow as people, as like a human race, as the human race, or are they still trying to divide us, divide and conquer, right? You know what I mean? So that's why I can't really get behind organized religion too much or politics in the sense of like, oh, left versus right or capitalist versus liberal. It's like at the end of the day, what are we talking about? Because we're all people and we're all like, man, we all bleed the same color. It's the average person that's making the world go round, just going to work every day and doing their jobs. But who is taking advantage of that? Who are we paying the taxes to, and who is paying our wages? Like, these motherfuckers, money isn't real. We made it up and we give it the value. It's like genders. Like, there are two sexes, right? Obviously, I guess if there's some sort of medical defect or birth defect, whatever you want to call it, there can be anatomy that is both or neither or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But in anatomy, are there not two sexes and then that's how you create offspring, right? A male and a female, or the X and the Y chromosome, whatever you want to call it. But then gender is a social construct. So you can literally be whatever the fuck you want to be. And that's where the joke comes from. Oh, I'm going to be a toaster. I'm going to be a helicopter. It's like, sure, if you want to say that's a gender, but that's how people, like, a pronoun is what they're calling you for the sense of context within conversation. So yeah, you can make a joke about it, and yes, haha, it's funny because it's a social construct, but at the end of the day, just take it seriously, say how you feel, and just fucking go on with it, right? It doesn't have to be misconstrued to this fucking length where I don't know. I don't know. And the fact that gender and then your what's it? Your sexuality or your interest, what the fuck is that even called? Your like who you're interested in, what turns you on, why is that connected to your gender and your pronouns? Because isn't that just a preference and a perception at that point? Like, obviously, the concept of gender is too. But you see what I mean? There's so much bullshit, fluff out there going on. Sure, everybody should have pronouns to like the nuance in conversation and context of conversation. That's all it's for. It's for ease of communication. So why the fuck are we going out and complicating it, right? Now that's not to say that people don't have the right to feel a certain way. Everybody has the right to their opinion, right? There's no bad takes, just uneducated ones. That's my philosophy. But it's like if people feel a certain way about their body or how who they are, how they are, that's their prerogative. They're allowed to feel however they want. But would it not be better to look at like our communities and our societies and say like, well, can we not just be more inclusive to those kind of people and everybody's God in a different form, really. Like everybody is, I don't know how many different ways to say it, you know? I gotta keep saying it the same, or not the same way, but I gotta keep saying the same thing different ways because that's all anybody's doing, right? It's all like, yeah, everybody's saying the same thing the only way they know how. But that doesn't mean that your opinion or your point of view is any more right or wrong than anybody else's, right? So that's my point of view on that. But see, I told you, I felt like rambling. I think I packed a ton of good info into this like 20 minutes already. And it might get to a point where it just abruptly cuts and says, "Oh, you don't have any more space on your PC," because I have been battling with that lately. Always an issue. But we keep it pushing till then. And that's another thing, right? Like with capitalism, with money, like, bro, snake oil salesmen are some of the scum of the earth. And I know some people just like they're trying to do their job to get paid, whatever, but you genuinely have to enjoy what you do or know what you're talking about, or you're not going to get respect, right? That's why I like philosophy. That's why I like music, because I'm trying to put the time and effort in to learning it, getting better at it, trying to improve it as a subject, whatever you want to call it. So I feel like that in itself can be respected, but then, like, it's also worth listening to people's opinion, whether they're right or wrong, and then if you feel like they are uneducated, you can try and educate them on it, Or if you feel like there's miscommunication, you have a conversation about stuff, right? But where I'm going with this is basically trying to say that there are a lot of people out there that don't give a fuck about what they're doing, and then it has inverse negative effects, pardon me, on the world around them, right? Excuse me, pardon me, my apologies. And this example that I want to give is the example of my computer. When I got this, I specifically told the guy at Best Buy, look, man, I need a computer with a lot of space. I see the little plaque next to it. It says 1 terabyte. Like, is this gonna have enough space? What's the space on it? He's like, oh yeah, 1 terabyte. Like, you'll be good on space. You can upload your music and your videos every day, and you won't fill it for a long time, right? And I know how storage works. A terabyte is good, but even on a console nowadays, bro, you get 4 or 5 games. That shit's fucking full. Like, even a terabyte isn't a ton of space now based on how big shit is, right? And now think about someone like me who's an artist who's constantly trying to create, make new things, record content like this, which is multiple minutes of content. I could record stream VODs or whatever it is, and like imagine having all those recordings sitting on your PC waiting to upload stuff because you want to keep a schedule and you want to be consistent with stuff like that. And then you realize you didn't get enough space because you check the storage and it says 500 gigs instead of a terabyte. And I realized this too later. I would have gone back and said, like, hey, man, what the fuck? I was told this and I got that. But now it's too late. I got a SSD, a solid state drive, which is basically like a big USB. It's sick. And I can put stuff on there. How much is that? That's actually a terabyte. And the amount of space on that is a ton. Like I've been able to store a lot of music and video files and it hasn't gotten full yet. But this, like obviously I would rather have the storage directly in my computer. But this, I wrote on the front of it. This is the one I use, One Touch. I'll pull it out of the box even. You can see the back here. Right? If you can here. You can pause, read the info on it, but it's basically just a big USB, and it's nice because it doesn't have any moving parts. So I'm pretty sure if you drop this, sorry, let me put it back in the box. I'm pretty sure if you drop that, it's not gonna completely fuck it and lose all your stuff on there like a what's it external hard drive, because what the fuck here, my bad, because external hard drives have moving parts in them, right? Like hard drives have moving bits in them, and I'm pretty sure it's like a DVD reader, like that's still the shit that they use in it, like the crystal in the reader, which that just seems dumb as shit, and that's why you have to have all the like padding on it, because why would you want moving bits in a storage thing when USBs don't need moving bits? So that's just a big USB, right? What I'm trying to say is now that I know that these exist, I can just buy more of those for more storage and sort everything out and be like, okay, this one's for music, this one's for videos, this one's whatever. And it works. But the fact that the guy didn't know what he was talking about, or he thought one thing, or he didn't care enough to do the research, kind of screwed me over. At least I'm learning from the mistake. I screwed myself over also not doing the research and like figuring it out ahead of time. But we learn, right? But that's why some people know what they have and then they'll just pawn it off to you like, oh yeah, it's fine. Like buying a used car or something. Oh yeah, it's fine. You won't have to do any maintenance to it for a good year or two. It's completely good. And then you start driving it and it's fucked. Like, man, I don't know. It's just people like that that piss me off. But it's all in the pursuit of money, right? Like I'm assuming that guy at that guy at Best Buy that sold me my laptop, similar to somebody selling their used car, and they know the problems with it. They're just trying to make the money. Guy at Best Buy is just trying to get his discount. Doesn't really care too much about the helping people side of it, because I feel like most people in customer service don't. It's just a job to make money, and then customer service, talking to people, helping people is part of it. And I'm sure there are some people who feel rewarded from helping people and who genuinely like helping people. When I worked at Loblaws, which you can see the videos on my TikTok because I made day in the life videos while I was working, and it was pretty fun because I just set my phone up for a time lapse and you can see the stuff I was doing. But when I was working at Loblaws, I didn't mind helping people find stuff. The ones that got me were the people who were like taking up too much time, or they were like distracting me from the shit I needed to do. And at the end of the day, I was getting calls to help customers when I was doing back end shit, and I barely ever worked the floor. That was other people in my department's job. So where the fuck are those people to help the customers out on the floor, whatever, right? Sometimes different departments had to call you because your department knows the stuff, and then I would be the only one in that department. So, you have to help people. Most of the time it was quick, felt nice. Oh, that person found the thing they needed for their meal or their recipe. Awesome. I'm helping people get through the day with less problems and doing that, right? But I don't know. That along with the rest of the responsibilities and shit I had to do, and then picking up other people's slack, and then dealing with coworkers you would see all the time that you didn't see eye to eye with or get along with, and it just, ugh, not fun. I would like to think that I'm more grown and enlightened since then, but it wasn't that long ago. And how much can you change in a short amount of time, right? So it's something I think about, I learn from, and I'm trying to reflect on that and do stuff differently. But I don't know. Working these corporate jobs, like working a minimum wage job, is just not for me, man. And here, the number one thing I will say as to why, I have a bunch of reasons, but let me just say, I think my time is worth more than a minimum wage, and I think it's worth more than a livable wage, right? Because money's a concept. I think my time, man, you could say my time is worth, well, I could say my time is worth 5,000, $15,000 an hour, because realistically, think about how much money someone like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk is worth, and how much they make hourly, as an hourly wage, as an hourly rate, to get to the amount of money that they have, right? If it wasn't from investments, from buying companies, selling or buying companies or whatever it is, like how much would they make hourly compared to the average person? Brother, brother, they are making dollars a second. Why is the average person's time not worth that when the average person is the one that's keeping the lights on for those companies, right? Like, sure, you can say the person in charge that has all the ideas, that's leading the ship, oh, they're important. But at the end of the day, you can't fucking run a ship by yourself. You know what I mean? You need people on board with you. And then it makes me wonder, like, how much of that is them, like, convincing people, brainwashing, propaganda, and how much is it actually people wanting to be there at the job doing the work for the outcome or helping people. You know what I mean? It's just food for thought. Honestly, speaking about food and thought, I don't know what I ate, but my stomach is turning up. It's one of those days where like I just had breakfast, but I wasn't hungry all morning. Got to a point where I was starving, and now my stomach's just turning up. Like, hey man, whatever I had last night, I just gotta get it out of me. And I'm hoping I don't yak. I should be good, but it's one of those days where it's just like, bro is not happy. And my stomach's usually pretty good. It doesn't usually get too turned up. But I wonder if it was from, like, we had soup yesterday, but that shouldn't be affecting it too bad. And then we had jalapeno poppers, which I wonder if the processed food and the cheese and the spice is like kicking its ass, which I don't know. I used to eat a decent amount of spicy food. I guess I since like slowed down a bit on it, but Yeah, I don't know, man. It's kind of brutal right now, but we make it through. It's part of life, right? Part of the experience of life. Got to have the lows to appreciate the highs. Cause imagine, okay, I'll leave it on this, right? We hit 30 minutes. That's good marker for a solo pod. But I'll leave it at this, right? Let's say let's say life or true unity, existence, consciousness, whatever in the purest form is either a bright white light or it's all the lights in a rainbow in a spiral and it's like you're at a rave and there's a constant humming, which is the hum of the universe, right? People talk about it on DMT, which you release when you die, which leads me to believe that you would go back to the hum of the universe and true unity, whatever. But let's say that is what it is. Obviously, we're going to create an experience like this that feels boring, feels shittier than that, makes us want to escape from this to go back to what we are, right? Like, you have to have a shit experience to appreciate the good ones, because if all you have is a good experience, then it's not a good experience anymore. It's just the experience, right? There's no, you know what I mean? There's no comparison. There's no yin to the yang. It's just unity. It's just the yin yang as one. That's just it. And then it's all one color. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's the difference between the black and the white, and then just a circle of gray. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But that being said, I gotta leave this episode here. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, check out my channel and the rest of the podcast. It should be in a playlist. Pardon me. Excuse me. And then until the next time, I love you. Stay safe. Good luck. Eat.